Marcus was 34 when he finally admitted to himself that he hated his life. Not in the dramatic way people say it at parties, laughing over cheap wine. He admitted it at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, sitting in his car in the parking garage outside his apartment, engine off, unable to find a reason to go inside. The fluorescent light above him buzzed and flickered. He sat there for 40 minutes. He had a job that paid enough, a studio apartment with a couch he'd picked from a Facebook listing 3 years ago, a phone full of conversations that always started with, "We should catch up," and never went anywhere. From the outside, nothing was wrong. That was the cruelest part. There was no villain in his story, no catastrophe to point to, just the slow, suffocating accumulation of days that all looked the same. People talk about feeling stuck 2026 like it's something new, like the modern world invented paralysis. But Marcus had been stuck since he was 22, when he took the job that was just temporary and then woke up a decade later still sitting at the same desk, still telling himself that something was about to change. Here's what nobody says out loud. Most people don't escape the lives they hate because they've made their prison too comfortable. Marcus knew this. That was the part that aided him. He wasn't ignorant. He'd read the books, watched the videos, understood intellectually everything about overcoming stagnation. Knowledge had become its own trap. He could articulate his problem with startling precision and then do absolutely nothing about it. He had a folder on his laptop called Ideas. He opened it sometimes late at night. Business concepts, a short film he'd wanted to make at 25, a road trip he'd planned to take alone. Every file was years old. He never deleted them. He never worked on them. They just sat there, like evidence of a person he had been on the verge of becoming. The dark motivation people talk about, the kind that's supposed to shake something loose inside. Marcus had felt that too. Moments of raw clarity where he could see exactly what he was doing to himself. He'd feel it in his chest like a door swinging open. And then he'd wake up the next morning and make coffee and go to work, and the door would be closed again. And he could barely remember why he'd felt so certain the night before. There's something deeply philosophical motivation theorists get wrong. They assume people are waiting for the right information, the right push, the right moment. Marcus wasn't waiting for any of that. He was waiting without waiting. He had given up on waiting and simply started existing. That's the final stage. Not depression exactly, not laziness, something quieter and more permanent. A kind of acceptance that doesn't feel like peace. His father had lived the same way. He remembered that now, more often. A man who'd come home every evening and sit in a specific chair and watch television until he fell asleep. Marcus used to pity him. He used to sit across the room as a teenager and swear, privately, furiously, that he would never be that. That silent swearing felt like identity then. It felt like the beginning of a different kind of life. He became him anyway. Not because he lacked intelligence or opportunity or desire. Because the days are long and repetitive, and the self is exhausting to carry. And at some point, the path of least resistance stops feeling like surrender and just starts feeling like reality. Marcus sat in that parking garage for 40 minutes. Then he went inside. He made tea he didn't drink. He lay down without showering, stared at the ceiling the way people stare at things when they're not really seeing anything. He thought about the folder. He didn't open his laptop. The light in the apartment was yellow and dim. Outside, the city made its indifferent noise. Somewhere, a car alarm was going off, and then it stopped. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would come, and he already knew what it would look like. That was the thing that settled over him in the dark. Not grief exactly, not anger, just recognition. The particular quiet of a man who finally understands that knowing the name of your cage does not mean you're going to leave it.